A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. Now, JWT has been one agency that has always been in the limelight for not being able to retain its top creative brass. Many creative heavyweights have come and gone, but none have managed to stick around to make a significant difference. Tarun, JWT's new CEO, in my last conversation with him, categorically stated that JWT was in immediate need of a creative face at the helm and that he needed 180 days to make that critical decision. 6 months later, he has finally announced that name, and it's none other than Senthil Kumar, who is an old hand at JWT and is responsible for most of the international glory that JWT has received across award festivals over the years. And joining me today in the Brand Equity studio are the duo themselves, the CEO and the new Chief Creative Officer of JWT. Thank you so much for joining me, gentlemen. Truly a pleasure having you once again.
Thank you for having us over.
The wait has been endless. How does it finally feel to have become the Chief Creative Officer?
There's a lot more pressure now to actually, create even better work now. I don't think it's a perch on top of a mountain. I think it's the beginning of yet another climb, and I'm looking forward to take a few big leaps and along with the people in my team and probably make not just the agency proud, but also India.
I'm, of course, more than happy for you. I think much as we've been tracking your career for a long time.
Wow.
And as you know. And so it's interesting to finally see you make it, as the creative head of this really large ship. But before I get to more questions on that, Tarun, the last time I met you was give or take 180 days ago. You promised in 180 days you will have a new creative partner, and kudos to you that you have, a man of your word. But my first question to you being, why did it take you so long to be confident that Senthil Kumar was the man for the job? I mean, after all, he's a very old hand.
So I have huge respect for Senthil. However, I've been away from advertising for 7 years, as you know. And coming back, I wanted to evaluate Senthil afresh. Because in the last 7 years, he has done fantastic work, remarkable work, which I needed to evaluate also. Besides, now this is a different role. It's not the role that he was doing with me when I was heading the Bombay office in 2008. So for me, it was good that I take my time, do my evaluation, work with him, see him with how he is with our people, see how he is with clients, and then take the call. And as I knew, I had already given a commitment of 180 days, so I had that time in any case. And I think in Senthil, I found all that I was looking for.
Senthil, if you actually have seen all your chief creative officers, whether it be the dual structure or it be completely headless, or it be a single CCO, whether it be Josie Paul, Bobby Pawar, or before that Bruce Matchett. So there have been several experiments that have been done, most of which unfortunately have failed miserably with JWT. So this whole creative head of JWT is a very interesting story for all of us, who watch the industry.
It will continue to be interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
In a positive
and now the
way.
story continues. We're hoping you're going to break that jinx. A lot of people have said that it's difficult for one person to handle. And the key proponent to that theory, of course, would be Calvin Harris, the former JWT CEO, who had always maintained that it's very difficult. I want your views as an insider who's seen this entire process, different processes as well, on whether you think, you single-handedly can manage this big beast called JWT.
No, I mean, to use the metaphor of sports, every team has to have a captain. And I believe I have that ability, and I'm willing to take charge as the captain of this big ship, as you want to call it. I don't see a problem going forward. It is going to be challenging because of the size and the big clients that we have in Delhi and in Bombay and everywhere else.
Are you doing anything different in terms of the creative structure to ensure that the running of the creative process within the company is smooth and efficient for you to take charge of that leadership position? What
we would do right now is, like, to give you an example, is what we've done on PO1. So we've got the best talent from different cities, and actually I've put together a core team which works on PepsiCo, right? Really young people, a bunch of young people who work together and gel together as a team. And while we use the resources within the company, at times we call in resources from outside, bring them all together as one core team, work on a particular project, and then they go back and do whatever they're doing best. So that's how we would operate on projects for across the country, actually. The other way to do it is what Tarun has also been talking about for a long time, and which I believe in, is about changing the way our creative people think. Okay. We always used to start with a television idea. What's the film? What's the print ad? What's the outdoor idea? And then take that film and then adapt it, extend it, elongate it, or compress it to a YouTube pre-roll or something that goes on social media. But I think the way forward is to reverse that order and to think of platform-specific solutions.
Tarun, you finished 1 year in Feb. If I had to ask you to evaluate your tenure, right, 2 months to 1 year, on what you have done as CEO for JWT, what would you have to say?
The key thing for me was to make sure that any leadership positions that were still empty are filled up. And now the team is in place, and I think for me to have a motivated team pulling in the same direction is the most important thing, and I think for me that is the crucial thing that I've been able to do.
So I mean, just to summarize what you said in terms of your first 9-10 months, you said that you've basically plugged all the holes there were in terms of leadership positions.
Absolutely.
Right? And you also said that you formed your strategy, right? Because you evaluated the agency, you formed it. Can you just shed light on what that strategy is?
The strategy is focused on growth, and I also believe that growth is going to come from 3 different areas. One is new business from, as we know, new business.
Absolutely.
We go out and get more business. The other is new business from new sources. And what I mean by new sources is that the clients are spending a lot of money, but they're not spending necessarily the money through the traditional agency, but they're spending it through other specialized agencies. So there is money out there, and if we have the capability like we do within our group, we should be able to get that. And the third way to grow is through acquisitions, and that is the 3 ways that we are going to grow.
Okay,
and we'll let ideas lead that growth, so so it's easier to grow.
I get that. I get that. Just talking about your 3-pronged strategy and just zooming into one, which is really new businesses. I know 9 months is a short time, but or 10 months is a short time. But I mean, if you can tell me key businesses that you've acquired in your regime in the last 10 months.
Oh man, that's a long list. We
really?
have got.
No, if you can give me a number.
I'll give you a number. There's 77 new business wins in the last 8 months.
Okay, wow.
So and that's what I'm saying. It is 6 offices of JWT India. There is Sri Lanka. There is Nepal.
I'm only focusing on India.
Well, I don't have the breakup of that number, but I would imagine that half of it would be JWT India.
And just to come on to your second point of acquisitions, what areas or what genres are you looking at?
So I'm saying that's what we are discussing as to what is going forward, what is our acquisition strategy, how far are we willing to go in terms of acquiring new companies. So that's in discussion, but I am actually quite keen to push the boundaries a bit more. Because that's where all the action is.
What was the health of the company or the agency like when you took over?
It wasn't great.
In what areas?
I'm saying it's basically the numbers, and when the numbers are down, that's a bit of a cascading effect.
Sure.
And again, to have leadership positions which are not been filled for a while is not a good thing. And sometimes you have to take decisions and move on from there, and that's what we have done. And I'm saying we are moving on.
Sure, of course.
Happily.
No doubt about it.
In good health.
Senthil?
Dr. Tarun.
Yes,
Doctor.
Absolutely.
Senthil, this is actually to both of you. See, JWT has always done well in Cannes. You have been named the Lion Hunter. I'll come to that a little later.
Okay.
So, you've always done quite well in terms of, your reputation in Cannes. However, despite the fact that you're one of the agencies that's consistently been winning in Cannes, unfortunately, whether it be rankings or it be creative perception, you haven't been, numero uno for some reason. You've always been looked at as a large factory that's churning out a lot of work, but never as, this creative hot shop or, some real creative stuff comes out of JWT as a whole. Are you in agreement with that perception? And what are you looking to do now that you have actually got the mandate to change that perception and make it, a large company, but still that thinks like a creative boutique?
I would ignore the perception and focus on the reality.
Okay.
The reality is that we have done very well as a creative agency, and if there is a problem, then it is with the others like you rightly pointed out, it is the perception from the outsiders, from
but
within.
But Senthil, my dear, I mean, perception is reality, you know, in the larger scheme of things.
Not really. I think because we know for a fact that we've done really
Because,
well from a creative.
I mean, you work in a business where you're doing work to change perception of brands. So I mean, perception is important.
I would resolve that by continuing to do great work. I mean, good work that becomes great work, and pushing the benchmarks even further.
You have an answer for me on creative reputation?
Oh, that was not an answer?
In the industry?
No, but you know.
It was not.
Not the perception.
No, I'm just saying.
I said perception doesn't matter, yeah, it's about the reality.
No, I'm saying, and we have discussed this, and what you're saying is true. But we're not going to do a PR campaign to do a perception. What we are going to do is to every day on every brand keep changing the reality. And there's always a time lag between the change in reality and the change in perception.
Okay,
and it will happen.
You know, you have publicly stated that you want to be the agency of the year at Cannes in the next 3 years. That's a really, you know.
It's ambition. It's called ambition.
I was going to use some word with ambition, like prefix some word. It's a tall ambition to have. Yeah. And just to mix this up.
Is that a challenge?
Make it a little fun. I want to tell you, last year, the CEO of Leo Burnett India also made a similar statement saying that he wants, you know, his agency to be the agency of the year. So,
well, I have proven to be a man of my word. So you take that commitment from him. And,
yeah, I'm willing to come. Yeah, so, and I've said I've given myself and my teams. That is the 300 people in my team and myself and all the new people that we will hire in the near future. We're looking at talent within and outside the industry. So I have a plan, but you know, it's not yet sort of properly planned, if you may put that. But it's better to start with an ambition and then work towards how you're going to get there. But I think to start with, I would say that this year at Cannes, maybe we should pick up like, you know, a few lines at least, if not like dozens, but few, and probably focus on the AdFest, the regional awards, and try and sweep those first. So, and GoaFest, of course. So we better win Agency of the Year again. So that's good. That's for this year. So since we're already at the end of the year, right? So, at the end of next year, which is the 2017 season, we should be able to break into like among the top 10 agencies at Cannes, when in the 2017 Cannes lines, among the top 10 agencies, and hopefully by 2018 or 2019, which is where I've set my ambition, we should.
You do have to return to the studio.
No, but okay, that's great. I mean, I'm glad you've broken that up. For me, that's very gutsy. But you know, let me just focus first on.
I focus on the work, and then you know, slowly, hopefully, it'll all work towards it. Yeah.
2016 Cannes, June, right? What are you working towards?
We have a few ideas. We have something called quarterly reviews at our at JWT, where we've got around 7 or 8 ideas which have been shortlisted globally from India, which we're sort of crafting now and packaging it and all that. So hopefully we'll have quite a few attackers at Cannes this year. So how many lines we hunt down, we don't know yet, but we're looking forward to having a good harvest.
Good harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Ambition.
So do you expect any exits, because some people would have been unhappy because they didn't get the job?
I don't think so.
No?
I think there is a role for a vice captain.
Yeah.
In the team, yeah. Every team game has a captain and a vice captain.
Sure, of course. Who is the vice captain?
Right now it'll be Tista.
So now that you've entered the big league, the CCO league, if I had to ask you to name one chief creative officer who you think you will be competing very hard with in India, somebody you look at as real competition.
In India, I don't think so. I don't think I have any competition. I think probably David Droga, Craig Davis, Matt Eastwood. I think my competition my benchmarks should be the people that I want to beat at some point in time, or or become over the years. So not 3 years, maybe 5 years I'll beat Dave Droga. So you never know.
Super. That's my quote of the day and of the show. On that note,
I think ambition is very important. If you have it, then you have some chance of getting somewhere in life. So It's taken me this far, so I'm sure I'll go get somewhere.
But on that note, hats off to you, Senthil, for sticking in there and finally
Cheers.
getting your due. And all the very best for your new innings. Tarun Rai, thank you so much again for joining us on Brand Equity and, of course, also keeping your word.
Absolutely. A pleasure being here.
He's a man of his word.
Now, Jason Spero, who's the global head of performance media at Google and previously the head of global mobile sales and strategy, means business when he says consumers have adopted mobile faster than businesses can keep up. And while marketers seem to know that, their actions reveal a knowing-doing gap. Spero, who has more than 8 years of experience in the mobile space in product marketing and general management, spoke to me about mobile as a medium and how a mobile-first strategy is no more an option but a necessity in today's complex landscape. Listen in. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. Truly a pleasure having you on ET Now.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I really want to start this interview by first asking you, how are marketers today looking at mobile? For the longest time, we've heard people, across the world talking about the increasing importance of mobile, given the fact that, we use it 24/7. It's our extended arm, and so on and so forth. But have marketers bought into the bait?
The data is undeniable at this point. There was a while where people were saying, yeah, well, mobile is just for entertainment, or it's just for texting, or it's just for these kinds of things. But on pretty much every metric that we track, mobile is now having an impact. It's having an impact on video viewing. As video is shifting, and it's a place to engage. It's having an impact on purchases. It's very clear that there's a lot of commercial value being created in mobile. And so I think we're past the moment of yes, no, should we invest here? And I think we're into the period of how can we make best use of this medium.
Okay, fair enough. I'm only asking that question because, several global marketers we speak to, and I'm keeping the context global for now before I come to India, seem to suggest that, but that they're investing, and some of them are very aggressively investing. But a lot of other marketers seem to suggest that, because there is no real measurable data to tell you what is your ROI, it kind of gets a little bit, difficult to tell how much really you should be spending on this device.
What we see is if people apply the desktop model of did I convert in that session and get to a confirmation page, certainly people are buying things on mobile. And as we get better with payment credentials and all of that, it's getting better. But what marketers are coming to realize is you have to look at a cross-device journey. You have to look at how people move between PCs and mobile and back again. Sure. You also have to think about how the digital experience influences what you do in the physical world. Right. So many people are standing in front of something in a store making a decision. And the digital can influence the physical, and the physical can influence the digital. So what I would say is we are able to build closed-loop ROI models for most of our customers in most categories now. And I think that people are starting to get used to that level of precision.
So, so that's interesting that you say that because, for instance, Martin Sorrell, who seems to be, a frenemy of sorts for Google, seems to constantly suggest that the problem with, let's say, tracking of this data in terms of sheer measurability stems from the fact that, you're playing referee as well. So there is no real third party, measurable, credible system that can actually track that, and that really therein lies the problem. For instance, for traditional advertising, whether it's effective or not, and that's a different debate, right? We still have a third-party, institution that gives us data saying that this is what happened. Yeah. Whereas for Google, Facebook, and anything else, maybe even Twitter, right? They give you their analytics, so you're playing referee as well.
Well, I get that metaphor. I've heard the fox guarding the hen house, yes. I guess I would say a couple of things. I think most marketers understand that Google Analytics is an arm's length product, that the church and state separation is real, and the data is not commingled. Sure. And so I don't find people who are holding back on mobile because we're the ones doing the measurement. We try to be as transparent as we can based on our privacy rules that we have with the consumer. So I do think this media is measurable. I do think this media is measurable specific to Google media separate from others. As an industry, I would love to have something that's universal, and I think the Nielsen ComScore model is now there for video, and we have partnered with them to understand viewability and all of that.
Sure. I was reading one of your recent interviews, and you've actually talked about the fact that a lot of people, let's say in the last couple of years, have gone the app way. Yes. And that might necessarily not be the right way because finally you have only limited number of apps that you'll possibly have on your phone. Yes. And something that I will only use regularly. So give me your sense of, if that's your spiel currently to marketers, that, everybody can't blindly go down the app route. What would your recommendation be now?
What we've learned from the journey that we've been on in other markets is that the market seems to be settling as an and, not an or. The market seems to be settling that apps are for your best customers, right? And that may, if you're doing a really, really good job, be 7, 8, 9% of your customer base. If you're Starbucks or you're Geico or you're one of these, you're doing a great job if you get high single digits % of your loyal audience on your app.
Okay.
The other 90-something % is going to engage you on the mobile web.
Okay.
And the mobile web is getting better every day. And so for most of our customers, they're now investing in parallel as the and, not the or.
Okay.
2 exceptions to that. There are any number of companies that we all know that are born in mobile and born as apps.
Sure.
And I would identify the Ubers and Grubhubs and Instacarts of the world in the US, where these businesses have been very, very successful only as apps and only in mobile.
Sure.
Which brings me to India, and I think the phenomenon, both because of some of the network challenges with bandwidth and 2G and 3G networks and all of this, we see any number of businesses having a lot of success as being very, very app-focused. I do think some of the biggest ones that have been the most high profile have recently concluded that a high-power, well-designed mobile website is a critical part of their offering.
Okay.
So I think where it's settling, if you look at Flipkart and others, is certainly the mobile app is a centerpiece of our offering. We're going to try to get as many people onto that as possible.
Right.
But we also recognize that the mobile web has a huge role to play, and I don't think we've found equilibrium yet in India.
A lot of advertising is really long format ads on YouTube, and that is our definition of digital advertising, which is really quite a cliche.
Yeah.
So instead of putting it on TV, you put it on YouTube, and it's also cheaper because the internet is cheaper as of now. So and that's digital for you. So it's very actually unevolved, so to speak. What would you say to to marketers and agents and creative guys?
Well, I guess I would say a natural first step in any new medium is to take your stuff from the old medium and port it across. That's a function of how the creative works. You're defraying your costs across more medium. I think the next natural step, if I were sitting with that creative agency, would be to talk to them about building specifically for the medium. And so I think built for digital, built for mobile experiences are an inevitability. And I think we're already having enough examples that we can bring to the Indian market that show this done really well.
Okay.
And so I would invest in those that are leaning in to get past step 1, which is port my content, and get into something that's built for the environment.
How would you compare mobile search ads versus, let's say, desktop search?
Mobile has surpassed desktop in terms of number of queries. And I think inherent in your question is how valuable is a mobile click? And what I would say is I have zero doubt in my mind that the value of a mobile click will be greater than the value of a desktop click in the near future.
Tell me something with mobile, right? Isn't it going forward going to become more and more difficult for, let's say, a player as gigantic as Google to keep people onto Google because they'll be out of Google because they'll be on different apps or they're on other rival platforms. And you guys have delinked each other. There's a heavy divorce that's happened between, let's say, Facebook and Google. So, given the fact that all of y'all are so native to your own platform, and the fact that you have so many apps coming over, how are you going to ensure that majority of the people who you've cultivated, who've born and brought up and bred on Google, remain there, and there's not so much of diversion of traffic?
I'll give you a simple answer and I'll give you a complex answer. The simple answer is if we're delivering a great user experience, people are still going to come back. We don't get caught up as much in how much time people are spending, because if we solve that problem for them in search and get them on their way, then we've done our job.
Okay.
The slightly more complex answer in all of that, I think, is that Google has to, just like every brand in the Indian market and every brand around the world, has to continue to evolve our products for the mobile market. And that's where you see things like Google Now and Google Now on Tap and an evolution of our analytics products. So we're building for the mobile customer, but like everyone else, we're learning the customer behavior as we go. I think so far we've done a pretty good job, and I'm very proud of what we've done.
Fair enough. On that note, thank you so much, Jason, for your time. Truly a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.